Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is finally coming to an end with Black Panther, and fans are excited to see what the sequel of Black Panther will be bringing to our screens. So what new characters will be introduced? Who are Namor and Namora? Stick close as we consider answers to these questions. First up, what new characters will be introduced? The new Black Panther installment, set to return to our screens on November 11, 2022, has faced its fair share of challenges and setbacks, especially with the tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman and COVID-19 breakout. The plans for the new part had to be adjusted, since Boseman will not be reprising his role as Black Panther. The initial release date was May 6th, then it was moved to July 8th, before it was later set for November. Now that the sequel has been finalized and the trailer has been released, we got a glimpse of the new characters set to feature. We have Riri Williams as Ironheart, Namor and Namora, and we're interested in who Namor and Namora are. So, who are Namor and Namora? We'll be starting with Namor. The new character will be played by Tenoch Huerta, but we won't be getting the Atlantis origin as we're used to in the comics. Rather, he'll be from Talocan. We'll be getting to that in a minute. However, before that, let's look into who the character really is. Who is Namor? Sometimes known as the Submariner, Namor was created to counter the fire abilities of the Human Torch. In some sense, he can be referred to as Marvel's equivalent of DC's Aquaman, except Namor is kinda an anti-hero, and he also preceded Aquaman. What's the origin of the character's powers? According to Bill Everett, the writer who created the character, Namor is described as an Ultraman of the deep, who has the ability to live in the seas as well as on land. More remarkably, he can also fly and possesses the sheer strength of 1,000 men. Some concluded that he might have based this character on the rhyme of the Ancient Mariner poem, and Everett later revealed that the character was called the Submariner after the poem. How about his name? What inspired that? His name is actually shockingly simple. Everett didn't go so far as to think up a real fancy name for him, as he just spelled Roman backward to give Namor, but the name was written to mean Avenging Son in Atlantida. Now let's have a look at his parentage. This might be the first time the Marvel Universe is incorporating the character into live-action films, but Namor is no stranger to the Marvel Universe. He has appeared in a number of comics and was one of the 3 signature characters in the golden age of the comics, appearing next to the first Human Torch and Captain America. In his initial appearance, he was more of a superhero. However, in the Silver Age, he kinda derailed to the position of an anti-hero. The Underwater King, as you guessed, was born to an Atlantean princess and a human. However, we might not get to see the Atlantean side of the story in Black Panther 2, because Marvel is scraping up off his Atlantean origin totally and replacing it with an Aztec mythology story. So instead of being the king of Atlanta, he will be the king of Talocan. The kingdom of Talocan, referenced in the sequel of Black Panther, reflects portions of Aztec mythology. Talocan is sourced from Tlaloc and is governed region Tlalocan. Tlalocan is recorded as a place where individuals who drown, die of lightning, or causes affiliated with the rain god go, and as expected, the rain deity in the story is Tlaloc. We're really curious to see how this Aztec mythology is incorporated into the story, but before that, let's continue examining his Atlantean origin as shown in the comic. So Namor basically became the first mutant in the Marvel Universe, with his half Atlantean and half human DNA. His mother was Fen, the daughter of Emperor Thakor, so we can see how he became king from there. Meanwhile, on the surface, he occupies a different role. Since his father, Namor Mckenzie, was the US Navy captain on Oracle, he somehow ended up being the CEO of Oracle Incorporated. This was a perfect guise because the company handles environmental concerns. As aforementioned, he might be new to Marvel films, but he's not new to the universe. He has partnered with Defenders, Avengers, Invaders, the Illuminati, Fantastic Four, and fought as a part of the X-Men, owing to being an alpha-level mutant. He even fought against Black Panther in the comics, when he flooded Wakanda in the Avengers vs. X-Men storyline. Marvel might tweak his character a little bit to fit a certain narrative, but we expect to see him exhibit certain abilities. In the comic, he was the fastest Atlantean swimmer, and we expect to see that in the movie. His hybrid genes granted him the ability to be amphibious, thus able to survive underwater and above water. He's also able to withstand very cold temperatures as part of Homo Mermanus. His speed in water is quite remarkable as well. His enhanced Atlantean genes grant him the ability to be the fastest swimmer underwater, making him faster than water vessels with high speed. He was granted aquatic telepathy, which allowed him to communicate with his fellow Atlanteans and other marine life. His enhanced genes also give him the ability to fly, making him the first superhero with this ability. How can he fly though? He's gifted with little wings on his ankles that grant him higher speed than a military aircraft. So with enhanced strength, agility, stamina, and reflexes, Namor was indeed a very powerful force. But his powers come with a condition. Although his powers increase potential in water, if he doesn't can't come in contact with water for too long, he gets weak. So, who is Namora? Moving on to Namora, the hybrid mutant is also not new to readers of the comics. Just like Namor, she was also introduced in the golden age of the comics, but she was not born as Namora. She was Aquaria Neptunia and only took on the name Namora because of her cousin Namor. Unlike Namor, her mother was a human while her dad was Atlantean. She lived underwater with her father as Aquaria Neptunia till her father was killed by surface dwellers. Then she became known as Namora, the Avenging Daughter. She stayed with her father in the capital of Atlantis and was a childhood friend of Namor at that point, but they later moved north. At the point where they were absent, Atlantis started having dealings on the surface, and upon their return back to Antarctica Atlantis, her father was killed when Stott Richards and his low-life criminals invaded Atlantis in search of treasure. They awoke the avenging spirit and Aquaria Neptunia, and she set out with Namor to avenge her father's death. Although she fought some battles solo, she was mainly Namor's companion in the comics. Well, till she got married to Talant, an Atlantean man. However, her relationship with him got strained due to her inability to bear children because of her hybrid nature. After little success to bear children, she had to take matters into her own hands and persuaded Vera, an exiled Atlantean scientist, to genetically manipulate the embryo of her clone before inserting it into her. From there, she became pregnant and gave birth to Namorita, her daughter and clone. In the comics, she was shown to fight with other superheroes apart from Namor. For instance, she fought with Hulk to push Thanos back with the Atlanteans. So, what are her powers? Well, her powers are pretty similar to that of Namor, with her cousin having the edge in most cases. And just like Namor, her powers dwindle when she's not in contact with water for too long. Will Namor and Namora be different in the movie? Well, there is a high chance the duo will be presented in a different light, especially with their Atlantean heritage gone. However, the introduction of the Aztec lore is quite understandable, considering the Mesoamerican cast. So, we will definitely be getting perhaps a similar background story, but different still. A noticeable difference is the skin color of Namora. In the comics, her skin changed from the traditional blue to a pale color, similar to the color of surface dwellers, surprising her father with her half-human trait that he didn't know she had. However, in the trailer of the movie, the person who seems to be Namora is shown to have blue skin. Namor, on the other hand, sports a pale skin color, similar to those of the surface dwellers. The sequel promises to be lit with the introduction of Ironheart, who will be sporting a suit similar to Iron Man. We can't wait to see that. It'll be amazing to see the two hidden nations clash in the upcoming sequel. What are you anticipating in the new movie? Do you think Namor and Namora will be as cool in the movie as they are in the comics? Slide into the comments to let us know. Kindly tap the notification bell on your way out, and thanks for stopping by.